Man, you bums. I don't care about, you know what? I'll take X off of it. How about that? Let me see here. Let's see here. I don't think we're live. We are live. Somebody out there in live land, tell me if we are live, because it appears that X is one of the culprits. It says that I'm live up there in the corner. Y'all give me a 5x5 out there in the comment land if you would. So hopefully we're good. Hello. 5x5. Bam. There we go. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate all you guys joining us tonight. It was an interesting start. So we didn't get an intro video. We didn't get a little countdown, any of these things. The higher powers that shouldn't be evidently don't want me and our guest tonight to chat. But that's how the world works. Evil tries to oppress you and put you down, but we just keep on fighting. So here we are. Thank you, everybody out there in the comments, for joining us and being patient as we fight these baby-eating, blood-drinking rapists and pedophiles that run this country and run this platform. That's right, FB and YT, and it appears X as well. You're all cut from the same cloth. So let's get into it. I don't know what to do, man, when I don't have my intro music. That kind of throws me off. So I've got to reset and recalibrate here. But let's see here. He said, what Patrick say, they must have permanently blocked you for talking about silver. That's a fact. That's a fact right there. And we're going to talk about some more tonight. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff tonight, man. It's going to be a good time. And it's always a good time when we get Jeff on here. We get into the weeds, get us some strikes, you know, get thrown off and timeouts. So no, it's good. But if you guys don't mind, like, share, subscribe, give us some little love out there. Cause as you can see, we can't even do it live anymore without fighting to, even get the stream rolling. Let's see here what I got. Where's my banners? Where's my media assets? There they all are. Let's talk about what we've got going on. Remember, Fallout 2026, October the 23rd through the 25th. We're going to be jamming this out right in front of the Sovereign Health Summit. Fallout, of course, we got all the awesome people still adding instructors. Going to have that all updated this week on the website. Our guest tonight will also be joining us for this. We've got Alan Kay's coming back. Of course, we've got the lovely Jax Janega from Wildcard Wilderness is going to be there. Not only are those two going to be there, we're going to throw them up on the stage. We're going to have like a season 1 alone conversation and a season 13 conversation. Get these two together. It's going to be a great time just listening to them talk about how much different it was from the first season all the way up to the 13th season. So, and of course, both of them avid outdoors man and womans. Awesome people, do awesome classes. The entire tactical rifleman team will be there. Carl Erickson, Sue LaRue, Emery Morgenstern. They're all going to be there doing awesome classes as well, plus running security. And of course, with the Sovereign Health Summit right behind it, we got to have our security in there. And that's why I picked Emery. Of course, Emery being the guy that he has, and Carl to back him up. Nobody going to mess with Emery. So it's going to be a good time. And those guys will absolutely handle business. But the Sovereign Health Summit, we've got 5 consecutive days. If you break down a general admission, which is $250, that is $50 a day to see all of these amazing speakers. And we're going to get into not just health, you know, we're going to get into food sovereignty. You know, one of our speakers is AJ Richards. He started the app called From the Farm. And it is so important that we hit up and learn who our local food producers are. Because guys, this stuff that's in the grocery stores now, it is scarier. It gets scarier and scarier by the minute. This stuff is toxic. The stuff that, I mean, you can't go down the aisle without seeing bioengineered this and preservatives that. It is scary. It's from the air, it's from the soil, it's in the water, it's in our food. And so food sovereignty is a big part about this. I love the word sovereignty. I use sovereignty all the time, and it's something that is just disappearing at a rapid rate. There's not really sovereignty, the right and power to govern yourself without being controlled by others. Think about what we do in our daily lives that we are still sovereign, right? It's hard to come by. It's hard to come by. So check out the Sovereign Health Summit. And remember, if you have purchased or you do plan on purchasing a ticket to the Sovereign Health Summit, you get in for Mountain Readiness Fallout for free. It's just icing on the cake. You guys can do a full week of it. The weekend, you get all your tactical training in, homesteading, and then we go right into alternative health, circadian health, sovereignty, food sovereignty. It's going to be awesome. So if you go to Mountain Readiness, you go to Fallout, you roll down there at the tickets. If you're going to buy tickets, there's one ticket there that is for, it's basically, it says Sovereign Health Summit Pass. And you click that, you bring us your Sovereign Health Summit ticket, and bam, you get in for free. It's our way of saying thanks for being a part of what we are doing. What else do we got tonight? I'm on a fast. Was on the road cruising around and put on a couple pounds, because when you're on the road traveling, you eat stuff. And Amber said, "Hey, we need to fast." I'm like, "Why?" And she, basically she was saying I was fat. Amber is in the comments right there, of course. And she's right. You gotta cut those, cut those pounds when you can. But I'm doing a fast. I'm doing a fast that is kind of biblical. The first person to comment, salt, milk, honey. How many times are mentioned in the King James Version? You get free tickets. 2 free tickets. Now you have to use them. You plus someone else. You can't sell them. There's no monetary value, anything of that nature. But throw it on in there in the comments, and I will hook you up. Jeff's in the background. He said more than once. Yes, the answer is definitely more than once. Just to be accurate. And I'll even ask Jeff a question when he gets out here. I've got one of these little trivia questions for him as well. So let's see if he can figure it out. But anybody got it? Somebody running Google? Like somebody's got to have it. Amber says 73. Well, that is incorrect. Just so you know, that is not correct. So, and it's out of 1. You got to give me all 3: milk, honey, salt. That's what we're looking for here. That's what we're looking for. So Ramona Howard, she says 40 times. There is one that's very close to the King James Version. That is 40 times. But that is not it. That is not it. So I'll just keep keeping a track. So I need, how many times is milk? How many times is honey? And how many times is, what was the other one? Salt. So repeat the question, Patrick. How many times does the word salt, honey, and milk appear in the King James Version? Salt, honey, and milk, each one. How many times salt? How many times honey? How many times milk? So, and nobody's got it. I see nothing up there on the scoreboard that has those 3 listed with how many times those are in there. I know it's hard, right? I could have just asked 1, but that's just easy. Why do that? Why do that? So, we'll get on to, I'll just keep an eye on it. We'll see if somebody gets it up there. But homesteading, we've been homesteading. We've been knocking it out. He says, no clue. That's what Google is for, Patrick. That's what Google is for. We've been homesteading away. We've currently got, I think, 350 chickens, 60 turkeys. We've got goats. I mean, we just processed close to 100 this last week. It has been nonstop. Patrick, you're pretty close. You are almost right there. So salt is, we can say 40 because there's a little differential. It's 40 or 41, depending on how old is the Bible. And what, King James Version, it's been translated multiple times. So is it just me or is he cutting out? I don't know. Everybody out there, Is there do I have a drag on speaking? Somebody let me know. And Lima G said, no, it's just you. So I just seen Ramona Howard. She said 61, 50 salt, and see, honey 61, milk 50, salt 40. I'm going to accept that, Ramona, because there's two different versions. It's 41 salt, 61 honey, 51 milk. But I also got the answer that you have depending on that version. So, Ramona, congratulations. Shoot me an email over to bob@mountainreadiness.com, and I will shoot you over 2 free tickets to our event coming up. And I have my email somewhere up in here. But it's gone. It's going to be one of those nights, guys. Just one of them nights to where things are just not going to work out the way I want them to. So bob@mountainreadiness.com, bob@mountainreadiness.com, and get your free tickets. But, anything that talks about products like that in the Bible, salt, honey, and milk. And it's interesting too, because a land flowing with milk and honey is mentioned 20 times. And it's funny. These are the things that we are constantly targeted on if we talk about that they're good. Oh, you need a very low salt diet. Oh, don't drink raw milk. Oh, don't give infants, or young children honey, and blah, 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 blah. You hear all this thing all the time about these different salt, honey, and milk, about how horrible they are and how you shouldn't use it and you shouldn't drink it and you should make it very minute. And I'm like, well, then why is it all throughout the Bible like that? It almost is like they don't want us to be healthy. That's what I think. So Patrick said he was just going to donate if he won. Are you not coming to visit us, Patrick? I thought you were coming out for October. And if that's the case, then, there you have it. And Ramona said she knows how to find me. That's scary. You've been hanging out with Amber too much. But cool. So let's get on with the show tonight. And of course, I'm just going to bring our guest out because it's been a crazy night. So I'm going to bring out Mr. Jeff Adams. Jeff, appreciate you joining us tonight, man. Sorry for all the craziness right out of the gate there.
What fun would it be if it wasn't crazy?
You got it. So I've got to do my intro. I always have the introduction here. So tonight we are joined once again by the infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it, Mr. Jeff Adams, entrepreneur and co-founder of Micronic Silver. Jeff's journey took him from building a construction business at 18 to becoming a leader in health innovation through years of research into ionic and Micronic Silver. We're excited to have you back and dive into whatever kind of weeds we want to get into. So appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for being a part of this again.
Well, to follow your lead, it also says the word meat 290 times in the Bible, lamb 200 times in the Bible, cows 270 times in the Bible, pomegranates 33, and bread, sourdough bread 360 times.
Bam. And all of those above, I eat very frequently. So, and this one is for you, Jeff, because I figured you had already done the research. How many times does King James Version mention silver?
Oh, geez. I've never ever looked that up.
Bam.
I'm gonna say 7 times.
320 times the word silver is used throughout the Bible. Is that not amazing?
Wow. That's incredible.
That is incredible. And, I figured like milk and salt, because salt is used quite often through the Bible. I figured salt would be way up there, but silver actually knocked everything else out of that. And that was kind of where I was going with this, is I wanted to pop that on you because I was looking through and trying to see, how many times these words are used just for my own personal use. And of course, this kind of diet thing I'm doing. But silver 320 times that it's used throughout the Bible. And of course, some of it is monetary, but a lot of it has to do with, a symbol of refinement. And so I thought that was very fitting for tonight's chat.
Yeah, and purity too. So I think silver
purity.
Term purity.
So let's roll with that first, Jeff. 320 times in the Bible, and purity, refinement, and value. What made you first look at silver as, kind of your life's work at this point now?
Yeah, it was, being a contractor, it was really interesting, such a dramatic change because, being a contractor, whenever somebody asked me for directions, it was always, you know, this lumber store here, McDonald's here, Burger King here, all this other stuff. And it wasn't until I got real sick. I got pneumonia. And I had met this gentleman. He's a self-proclaimed nuclear biochemical engineer. He said he was one of 8 in the world. And he had over 180 patents on medical devices, so I believe him. And he's the one who introduced me to silver because I'd gotten pneumonia and I was doing some work in his building. And he's the one who introduced me to it. And before that, I really didn't know much about health, to be honest with you.
Right. I thought I knew something about health, and then I realized I was just young. That was, when you're young, you're like, man, I'm super healthy. I smoke 3 packs of cigarettes and jump in the ring and fight all day, and that was an accurate, true statement. I used to, I was competing MMA. I smoked like a freight train. I was like, I'm good, but come to find out, it was just youth. Youth has a way of, you heal a whole lot faster. And so now at 48, I am delving more into health and learning more because I've realized that the body is such a complex thing. It's just not as cut and dry as, I do a little exercise and I'm good to go. So especially when we're completely bombarded by toxins everywhere we turn around and look, which you've been experiencing some of that here with the wildfires here lately.
Oh yeah. It's, you'll hear me coughing from time to time. When the Canadian fires came, the smoke came through Chicago. There was a point for 2 days where if you were outside for an hour, they said it was the same as smoking 10 cigarettes. Man. And it didn't smell like a forest fire. It smelled like straight up burning plastic. And I got very ill, had to nebulize 4 or 5 times a day, oxygen dropping into the upper 80s. And, it was miserable, no energy. And I don't think that's from just wood burning. I know over 700 buildings had burned, but still, right. It was, the last 5 years has been horrible with fires in the whole North America. It seems like we're getting bombarded one after another, have the California fires, and then we've got the Canadian fires, and then the Spokane, Washington fires. And it seems like we're constantly bombarded with stuff. And I'm sure that the chemicals that they're putting in these forests and these lands that are building and stuff is just getting put into the air, and we're breathing them in, and they're slowly just destroying our health.
No, you are correct. You're correct. We've even caught some of that smoke. It was before we headed to, before I headed down to Montana. We clear down here to the East Coast, we were catching some of this smoke, and which is insane. It was very strange because from what I could tell, looking at some of the who is it? What's his name with geoengineering.com. He was talking about how the jet stream and all this stuff, we shouldn't have even been seeing any of this smoke, but for some reason it was all over the top of us. So, who knows what exactly that was, or if it was actually from wildfires. I could just about believe anything at this point in time. They could say, hey, aliens just landed on the White House lawn. I wouldn't doubt it for a single second at this point, where we're at in the world.
Being that we don't have we didn't have borders for so long. It depends on what kind of aliens you're talking about.
Right. Either or, flying or beating shoe leather, either or. I would not be surprised at this point.
It was interesting. I seen a topographical of the route of the smoke from the Canadian fires was going. Mm-hmm. And it's the same exact map of, we had an outbreak with, diarrhea, stomach issues.
Yeah.
And they overlaid each other perfectly.
Oh, wow. It was another thing I've seen people talk about when, the big C word. We have all these little epidemics of things of sort whenever they roll out a different frequencies for cell phone. because that was 4G. Now we're at 5G. All of a sudden we're having all these issues. Seems like maybe they're kind of related. And of course, with all the interesting things that we currently have in our systems at the time, maybe that 5G is interacting with it. So, I actually heard a guy talking the other day. It was really interesting. He said, with all of the microplastics that we're exposed to, all of the heavy metal stuff that we're exposed to, and then of course the shoes that we wear, we become perfect little insulators because the plastics in our skin, the heavy metals in our system, like we're basically little insulators running around. And I thought that was kind of interesting the way he put that.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of misconception that people have with since we're talking toxicity with toxic metals and heavy metals.
Yeah.
And so people are getting confused, and you hear people going, well, is silver, is it going to be a heavy metal in my system, or is zinc, or these things? So the defining thing is, if it's a toxin to your body, that's a metal, a heavy metal, there's no use for it in your body. So when you look at gold, you look at zinc, you look at platinum, copper, those things are minerals and metals that you need to have in your body. Your body utilizes them. So when there's a foreign agent like that that's in there and your body has no use for it, it becomes toxic in the body and is a heavy metal.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I forgot to throw our media banner up here, but look here, guys. Come on. There we go. Nothing's working on these buttons, man. I'm telling you. Look here, guys. If you have not already subscribed and checked out Micronic Silver, click that, type that link in or scan that QR code. I'm going to leave that up there because these products I use daily, and that's a fact. The nose spray, a lot of the salves, the daily health drink. I use this stuff every single day. And for some reason, every time I step away from it and quit using it, I get sick. Not saying it's a coincidence, but it can't be a coincidence at that point, is what I'm saying. So, also, where did my other one go? Here's the other one right here. If you go to Micronic Silver, you use Robert Toombs on there, you get 10% off right there. Save you some money. Because in this day and age, as well as I do, that money is hard to come by. So scan that, throw my name in there, and get you some savings and get on board. We're going to talk about products tonight too. Matthew King, Micronic Silver has changed my life and my wife's, and I will attest to that. Just saw Matt and Leanne in Montana. And Leanne was doing exceptionally well compared to last Mountain Readiness May. So, which is awesome. Love it.
They spent about 45 minutes to an hour at my booth going through a lot of her medical conditions she had. And I'm glad to hear that they're doing so well.
Oh yeah. Well, actually she's doing great. And then Matt's doing horrible because he pulled his back in Montana. And so we had to kind of just carry him around, everywhere that we went.
Oh, the
It's all right, bro.
Will help with that.
That's it. We need to get some of that on the back right there. So yeah, he was, we were just talking about, being young and all that stuff. And Matt and I was sitting there talking every morning. We have our coffee before we start the deal. And I will lift. I'm picking up trees and wrestling goats down and all this kind of stuff. And the day will end. And I'll walk over and I'll drop a pencil and I'll lean over. And then all of a sudden your back crawling around on the ground. I'm like, why? Why is it that, I do all this strenuous heavy work, nothing happens. I go to tie my shoelace and I hit the ground like a cripple. And that's what happened with Matt. He was good. And then he's walking along and all of a sudden, bam, pinched nerve and straight up Tiny Tim, man. He was hobbling all over.
Or he sneezed. And it's like, it's interesting because, I used to, laugh at, because I was in construction for years, and being the young guy, 22-year-old on a crew. And a lot of these guys are in their 50s and they're making the grunts and groans and, have to when they're going from a kneeling position, got to put their hand down, put one foot up, give themselves a boost, and I kind of laugh at it and be like, I'm never going to be that way. And here I find myself making those noises that when I get out of a chair, or
Oh yeah.
at the end of the day, I go to sit down and it's like, okay, I'm done moving for the day. I'm staying here until I go to bed.
That's it. That's it. I just got through doing goat fencing. We got to move the goats tomorrow to a new paddock, and I'm thinning out some woods. And everything here is, 8 to 10% grade we set in this horseshoe. So I don't know if you ever seen that movie with Sylvester Stallone. It was like called Cliffhanger, where they're rock climbing and hanging out. I mean, that's what I look like carrying this fencing, all, just trying to run fencing up this 10% vertical plane. And man, there ain't nothing that'll make you swear worse than running electric goat fencing through the mountains and brush. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But we had a question out here, and Limey G, it's funny you should ask because you come to the right place, brother. Question: is there a huge difference between Micronic and colloidal silver? I brew my own colloidal silver. Bam! This is right up your alley, Jeff.
Well, no. Is there a word that's bigger than huge?
Right.
There's a colossal difference between the Micronic silver and colloidal, ionic, and nano silver. A lot of it has to do with the stability issue of the Micronic silver, where it stays active in the body a lot longer. I always tell people, it's in my mind, it's about 2,000 times more effective. And when I met Robert, Robert was the biggest skeptic. So when we had talked, and he's like, listen, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I've got a drawer full of silver products because I keep wanting to believe in it and I keep getting disappointed in it. So if you want to send me your products, he says, I'm not going to put you on the air until we try the products to see they work. And, I'm not saying your products don't, but I'm not saying they do because of my experience. And I think it was in a matter of a couple days that you called me and said, all right, this stuff is really starting to work. And we
Absolutely.
Wasn't it a rooster or something that you had that had its crown? Was it its crown, or was there?
Yeah, we used, and that was an interesting deal there. We had right when your product showed up in my mailbox, I just the day before started feeling under the weather, almost like that COVID thing trying to sneak in. And so the next day, your product showed up and I'm starting to feel rough, scratchy in the throat, headache, body ache. And I hit the old nasal spray, was using that every few hours. And then the, what do you call it in the bottle that you take?
The dietary supplement.
The dietary. Hit the dietary supplement. And man, by the end of the day, all of a sudden I'm feeling a lot better. By 24 hours in, I have almost nothing of symptoms. And by 48 hours in, I'm back to normal. I'm good to roll. So then we had a rooster, the same thing. We were using it. Actually, we had a turkey that she had jumped off of her roost, got her toe caught in the hardware cloth of the cage. And we got this big turkey cage out here, and ripped the whole nail and the tip of the actual toe off. Like it was really bad. So turkeys are these weird little creatures that they like to be around you, but they don't like to be held, so they're always jumping around and bouncing. And, I looked down at this turkey's toe and the whole end's missing and it's all swelled up. So I got a hold of her and we brought her in, we cleaned it up, and we realized at this time that the toe was bad infected. The infection was going up her leg and was super warm. So we scrubbed her all down. I was like, man, let's use this, Aleazone and the spray and the Silvazone. I just coated it all over. We did that for a couple weeks, and that turkey is good to go. Missing the toe, but everything healed back up, and it even started getting a smell to it. It was such a bad infection to where right there at gangrene point, especially with her leg being warm all the way up to where the feathers started. And so to turn that around just with that product, that's huge. That's huge. And so, I was a huge skeptic, but I'm glad that it came through, because here we are today.
Yeah, we've actually become pretty good friends. And
absolutely.
Then when we were at the Mountain Readiness in North Carolina and Harmony, we got to hang out quite a bit, got to really know each other. Before that, it was just on the phone. But that's man, your people there, they were all just, Robert said I had to come get this. Robert said I had to come get this. And
man, I promote it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really great. And I got to meet some real good people. And then I was so looking forward to Montana. And then I got sick from these Canadian wildfires. To be honest, I wasn't sure that I was really going to be alive much longer. It got so bad. I had to nebulize with the Micronic Silver, 4 or 5 times a day. Just to breathe. My oxygen was dropping into the 80s. And if when you go into the 80s, it's really bad. Your lungs aren't retaining oxygen. And,
right.
And as much as I know about health, my thought was, am I ever going to be able to retain oxygen again? What is this stuff doing to my lungs? And by the grace of God, I'm recovering, still have a little bit of cough, but it's been a good month of, just trying to get over this thing.
And I need to get with you on the nebulizing too, because years of smoking and abusing myself, thinking that I would live forever, has played a part. And so my oxygen is not the greatest as far as breathing. And I was actually talking to our mutual friend, Pat Militich. And so, Pat swears by silver, and, as far as for breathing it, he swears that is what cured him, that put him to the next level in the MMA world, because he said he struggled because of all the black mold and the glyphosates and stuff living there in the cornfields, that his lungs were trashed. And so he could never get past that plateau. He said when he started using silver as far as to, get that out of his system, then that's where it kicked him up to the next level. And that's when he really, that was when he became a world champion at that point. So I need to get with you on that as well, because I was talking to Pat just the other day, and he's like, yep, that's the way to do it. If you're having the problems with breathing, to go that direction. And also on that topic too, with Limey G, and Limey said, thanks for the info right there. If I'm not mistaken too, Micronic Silver versus colloidal silver, it's how long it lasts in the system. Didn't we have a conversation of that?
Yeah. So your colloidal, your ionic, and the nano silver, they have a lot of the same properties. When you take them, they're a sublingual delivery only, which means absorbed under the tongue. And then when you swallow those ones, because they're unstable, they hit the stomach acid, mixed with it, creating silver chloride, destroying the silver. So it's that single mode of delivery. And it only stays suspended in the body for about 6 to 8 minutes. So it really has that 6 to 8 minutes to enter the cell, at which point it's really good at disrupting the chemical lung of the single cell organism in a type of suffocation, hit it with ionic charge, and now that silver is trapped inside that dead cell, waiting to get washed out through your lymphatic and waste system. The Micronic silver is different because it's the only organically stabilized silver on the planet, meaning there's other companies that will add like chemicals to it to keep it suspended. We don't do that. In the process of making it, ours stabilizes itself. So ours stays active in the body for 8 to 10 hours instead of 6 to 8 minutes. Ours is not destroyed by stomach acid, so it's a sublingual. And I'm going to use the word ingested for understanding, but technically it doesn't go through the digestion process. It's absorbed through the lining of the stomach through osmosis, just like water is. So it's a dual mode delivery. And the Micronic silver, it works outside the cell versus inside the cell. So when it comes in contact with a bacteria, fungus, or virus, the micron is a subatomic molecule with a very high atomic mass. And we believe it's this sort of function that makes it work so well, is that when it comes in contact with a bacteria, fungus, or virus, it steals the electron, pulling it through that cellular membrane wall, killing it on contact. And then the Micronic silver takes in the electrons, because a micron is a form of an ion, which means missing electrons or unbalanced electrons. And it can't hang on to that electron. It ejects it into the blood, giving you energy. And now it reactivates that silver versus getting washed out of the lymphatic and waste system like all the other silvers that are out there.
Yes. And so Limey G, there you go. That's a little bit more in depth of the differences between what Jeff has and then the colloidal silver. And it doesn't mean that colloidal silver is bad in essence, but I will say, with the conversation with Jeff, I have, based on the current value of silver, I probably got $1,000 worth of silver sitting in here in a drawer that did literally jack nothing whatsoever to move the needle in a positive direction for me at all. I mean, I saw no difference no matter how I used it, how much I used it. There was a bottle that I had that I got from a vendor, and I drank the whole bottle. Like I just, I was like, you know what? Let's just see what the whole bottle does. Nothing, zero. I mean, it didn't even give me a tummy ache. I got zero out of it. It was like I did nothing whatsoever. I was like, this is crap. So, you know, it was a breath of fresh air to have a silver product that actually did what, you know, you said it was going to do. And Matthew, he said, same thing. Matt, he's a big skeptic too. I was skeptical about your product. Amazing. Do not get sinus infections anymore. And it took away my wife's inflammation and highs by about 50%, which is huge. So, and just for everybody out there listening, we are not giving any medical advice whatsoever. Please consult your physician before using any products that we may talk about tonight. That's for the AI that is probably listening. Are we still live? Yeah, we're still live. We're still good. We're doing all right, Jeff. We made it 37 minutes and we ain't been killed yet.
No, so. I think I was getting the blame for it not being able to go on originally.
Yeah, no doubt. No, and guys, I'm not even kidding you. I kept hitting start. I would hit it'd say start the live stream, and it would say, oh, try back in 30 to 60 seconds. We're experiencing a very high number, you know, on Monday nights, because everybody does podcasts and lives on Monday nights, whatever. Hit that thing over and over again. We heard the countdown music so much, I still hear it ringing in my ear. So trying to get that thing started. But better living through chemistry. That's right, Patrick 7. Yeah, chemistry. Let's see. Toothpaste is awesome as well. Man, that spray is phenomenal. Let's talk about that too. We've got your tooth spray, and I've been using that for, man, when did I got that from you in May. So I've been, or right before May, I got some. It was like, so April, May, June, July, man, going on 5 months now. I've been using that. That stuff's phenomenal. But you're about to do an upgrade with the tooth spray as well now.
Yeah. So the big trend in oral care is hydroxyapatite, which is a remineralization product. And originally I was kind of on board to go, this is interesting, when they're saying it could, you know, help get rid of cavities and fill in cavities. And then they said, well, it can also form whole teeth and regrow teeth. And I'm like, okay, God's design needs a blueprint. And, you know, this doesn't have a blueprint. So you're going to end up with just this massive calcium thing in your mouth. So that kind of lost me. So I started looking at things and got away from the hydroxyapatite, which the only place you can get that is China, by the way. And I don't do China.
No, I didn't realize this. So, I mean, are they, we'll go back to the product, but where are they deriving this product from? That's, you know, anything, of China, I kind of get the heebie-jeebies on.
Yeah, well, they're supposedly mining it, and you know, I don't think anybody really knows what it is, but they claim it's a all natural mix of minerals that are perfect for regrowing teeth and managing oral health care. Now, I started doing some research on pearl, because pearl is such a complex mineral that you know, it takes thousands of years to really, you know, develop the pearl. Now, oysters have been able to do it ultra quickly. So when those oysters die, the degrading shells, all that pearl is in the bottom of the ocean. So they've been using it for oral care with great results. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if that'll do the same as the hydroxyapatite for mineralization. It's a more complex thing than the hydroxyapatite, and it's a mild abrasive. So it won't scratch the teeth, but it will help clean the teeth. So we're reformulating it with the pearl. The one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to affect the taste of the product, because I think ours is probably the best tasting all natural oral product out there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's,
oh yeah, that stuff tastes amazing. And the great part is you don't have to spit it out. You can just eat it.
Yeah. It'll help restore the microbiome in the gut.
Right.
You know, so you really, you know, we came out with a mouthwash, but we don't need it. You know, so we may end up changing that and use it as more of a refreshener during the day, where you just put a spray or two in your mouth as a refreshener.
Well, and just breath alone too, like, you know, killing off all the bad stuff that's in there, evidently, because fresh breath, like you said, you don't need mouthwash. You don't need any of this stuff. That spray for me is pretty much one-stop shop.
Yeah. And when I wake up in the morning, I don't have the pasty mouth that I used to have all the time. So you wake up. I'm not saying your breath is daisy fresh, but I'm saying it's just I don't have that sticky, gummy, pasty breath or mouth.
Yes. Yes. And then, let's not mention, all that stuff that's really great for your teeth when you use over the counter, run of the mill toothpaste, like, fluoride, all that stuff that's just great for us.
Polyethylene glycol.
Right. That good stuff that kills the pineal gland and everything. That's a bonus by far. But let's talk about let's talk about something off the wall. I was just reading some stuff on AI data centers.
Okay.
Like, let's just throw that out there. What is your take on this? Because, man, if it isn't bad enough that we're being bombarded in the air and the food and the, smoke from fires all over the place and all this kind of craziness. But, these AI data centers, they are trying to ram this down everybody's throat in every single town and city, not too far from here over in Hickory. It's a few hours away, but they basically, these big AI companies are coming in and they're handing these cities large chunks of money, and they're just passing this stuff through without even letting people have a vote. It's looking like sometimes because they want that almighty dollar. So, what's your take on them? What have you been seeing?
Well, the amount of water consumption that those things take for cooling, and they use fresh water. They can't use salt water. I don't know why they can't reuse the water. I guess the expense of cooling the water so they can put it back in again, and they're eating up our water supply. I'm the first one to say I'm not big into AI, but if we don't take control of it, we don't learn how to use it, evil is going to take it over and we will not be able to compete with it. So it's one of those evil things that, God said he'll use evil for good and that we should. So we really need to get on board with it. I think that those companies should be required to do their own electrical generation and should do their own cooling systems. And they foot the bill for it, and they should foot the bill for the cleanup or what they do. Why don't they pump in ocean water and desalinate it and use it and let them, support the cost of it? Why is it falling on the average person there? We saw the same thing when Lowe's, and it's a totally different thing, but kind of the same. So when Lowe's or some of these, Sam's Club or these companies come in, they get this land donated to them by lobbying and giving money to these cities. And these companies open up, and especially with like Walmart, they ran the little mom and pop businesses out of business, and then they shut it down and forcing you to go a couple towns over to the building there, and they got to keep the land, which they can turn around and sell. Why isn't that land given back to the people of that town or city that they destroyed? Right. It's just this excess that we have with taking things away from people just because of the mighty dollar. This is why we have a lot of health problems. It used to be that farmers provided the food locally, and it supported the people in that community. And I'll use corn, for example. Now there's so much corn being grown, they will store it in silos for years, and it's become 80% mold from sitting in those silos. Right. And now people are getting sick from it. We saw that with wheat. In 1973, when they modified the wheat and they went from 17 simple protein molecules to 3 complex chain molecules that the body doesn't process because they can store it in silos for so long. They're compromising our bodies for their profits.
Yeah. What really was disturbing for me is I'm seeing these AI data centers being laid out in deserts. And reading about it, they're talking about they're actually drilling and punching down into the underground aquifers to utilize the underground aquifers to supply the water to cool the data centers. And that there is very disturbing. When you're talking about water on the surface, that's one thing, but it is as it travels downward, it's being filtered. That's the whole point. And then once it gets to the aquifers, of course, you have a much better filtered water that we are pulling our wells from. And so I was like, man, this is bad. We're punching down in aquifers. There's no other way that they can get rain. They're not going to rely on rainwater with the millions and millions of gallons they're going to use to cool these facilities. But when you're looking at in the middle of the desert, that's the only place they can get water at that point. So that was what I was actually reading about today. I was like, man, that is just really disturbing to think that now we are tapping into the actual Earth's drinking water to cool these data centers.
Yeah. When has it become acceptable to take a vital need for human life or animal life and saying, we're going to allow it to be used for commercial purposes to support profits of a company? And listen, I'm a capitalist at the core. I believe that, that people should be able to keep the money that they make. And, when I had my construction company, I worked 110 hours a week for 38 years. That's 2.5 full-time jobs.
Yes.
I should have gotten some kind of reward or benefit for not going on a government system, for creating jobs and stuff like that. And so I am really a capitalist. The problem is the bastardization of capitalism that these companies have done, and our politicians have allowed it to happen.
Yes.
If you look at the Democratic side, they're not bastardizing, but they're attacking these corporations. Oh, they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't be able to do this. Core capitalism is the only way for society to grow. It's when these politicians put these things into legislation that allows them to, reap profits off of illegal activities. That's when we have an issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's, it's a lot of crazy stuff going on with AI data centers, and all that ties into the big push. I've noticed the power companies, they're just clearing everything out and making sure all the power lines and the fiber optics, and laying fiber optics like it was going out of style. Then the flock cameras, all these kind of things. So, it's all going to come to a head. I can agree with you on that. We definitely have some interesting stuff coming to us in the future, to say the least. Let's talk about, we had a conversation just a little bit about copper and silver. And so, it appears that pretty much so every living thing on this earth is pretty much so copper deficient, from what I can tell. And you actually have a product, I believe you said it was Copper Seal.
Yes.
Now I've heard, just to play the devil's advocate, I'm pretty easy pushover, but I don't think that's a true statement. I think you're leading us a little bit there. Right. So, but I've heard a lot of things about how copper and silver are not good to use together. And so, I asked you this earlier, and I'd like to go into a little bit of that, because there was quite a few big podcasts that I've even watched that talk about how you shouldn't use copper and silver at the same time, because of they kind of cancel each other out. So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So typically copper and silver statically discharge each other. So they take the electricity or the current or the ion and they disrupt it. So you usually don't take them both at the same time. Being that the Micronic Silver stabilized, we've been able to put the copper and silver together, and they work in harmony in your body. This was big after the pandemic because people loaded up on zinc. Zinc stops the body from uptaking copper. That's why so many people, especially women's hair, have turned gray, because the number one reason that people turn gray, about 80% of people, is because of a lack of copper uptake in the body. So what happens is when the silver statically discharges the copper, it goes into a storage mode in the body instead of using it because it provides energy. Copper is needed for the communication between cells, especially for the heart, and also for the formation of collagen. So we didn't make it for the gray hair reason. We made it for the communication grid, so that cells could communicate. And customers were getting back to us, and 60 days later, and go, my hair went back to the original color. And that's when we realized that people started taking zinc during the pandemic, and their body went into a storage mode. And the copper seal actually helps release that copper, and only adds 1% of copper in the body.
Man, O'Brien Duff, by looking at Bob's head, he has 0 copper in his body. That's a fact, bro, but it's going to change. It's going to change here soon. Because I've already talked to Jeff. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of gray in there, man. There's a lot of gray. No, you're right, Brian. But, at the same time, bro, it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, because I just saying you pretty salt and pepper yourself. I'm gonna try to hook you up with some copper too, Brian. I'm gonna get us both hooked up. Here in about 2-3 months, we're gonna be looking straight GQ, shave 20 years off, get all that color back in.
Hey, I think I look good for 90.
There you go.
Not too good for 25, but
not good for 25, but good for 90. You know, now copper is my next thing. You know, I've been looking into the copper thing, and that's where the silver thing came up. I was like, man, I've got to talk to Jeff about this, because you get all these conflicting things. Oh, don't use this with this. Oh, you can't. And, you know, so that makes a whole lot more sense now. But, you know, I even hear that glyphosate leaches copper out of the body at an insane rate. Have you heard about this?
Well, it actually leaches minerals, a lot of different minerals from the body. So
right.
it blocks the body's ability to absorb minerals, in which,
gotcha.
you know, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Joel Wallach.
Yeah.
So Joel, amazing man. This guy, his research is in the Smithsonian, but the medical community calls him a quack.
Right.
It's outstanding. He's cured people with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and diabetes type 1 and type 2. The federal government has sued him 10 times, and they've lost every single time.
Awesome.
But he says, but between 75 and 80% of all illnesses are mineral deficiencies. Yeah. So when you see stuff like the glyphosates that rob the body of minerals, now you're open up to all different kind of disease states.
That's it. That's it. You know, energy level is something that I've been struggling with for the past couple of years. And so, you know, the more I delve into this world and reading about copper, copper seems to be one of the very magic keys that are necessary for opening up energy levels and things of that nature. So I've got to touch base with you too on that copper seal and the nebulizer, because that's my next thing.
We do. I get it. We
do
have nebulizers now too.
Did you? Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's good that you had them on hand with all the smoke, because you had one right at your disposal. Right.
Well, so Michelle and I were both childhood asthmatics. So we've been nebulizing our whole lives. And when the pandemic hit, we started nebulizing with the silver, going, hey, wait, you know, we didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. So we started nebulizing with it. I was using my rescue inhaler 7 to 8 times a day before the pandemic hit. And started nebulizing with the silver. Well, a month later, I realized I haven't used my inhaler in a month. I don't use my rescue inhaler anymore. And that usually does not happen with people that get inhaler bound.
Oh, yeah.
So I really believe that it was repairing the tissue of the lungs and its ability to capture oxygen.
No, I believe it. I believe it. And like I said, Pat Miletich swears by silver for curing him and putting him to that next level. So, you know, I'm like, hey, world champion. I'm gonna take his word for it. And
that's another reason I was really upset about missing Montana, because I was supposed to connect with him, because we've been missing each other back and forth. Well,
the upside is, and for everybody that's listening as well, is that you and Pat will both be, and someone asked it was Matt, Jeff, you're going to be at Fallout in October. So yes, Jeff is going to be with us for Fallout. And of course he'll be there the week for the Sovereign Health Summit. So
yeah, if I have to bring my nebulizers and a defibrillator and everything else, I will be there.
We'll hook you up with power if it comes down to it at the booth. That way you can just sit there at the booth and suck on the nebulizer all day long. No, Pat will be there. Of course, he's going to be there for the whole thing as well, him and Mariah. And so we will all connect one way or another before this
Will Spencer will be there too, won't he?
Will will be there. Yeah, we've got Doc Will, Pat, you guys. We just had a ton of people sign up, vending, sponsors. I mean, we've got everybody from Wave Watch is going to be out there. Of course, our friend there on Healthy Technologies will be there. Of course, Anna Kate, she'll be there as well. Let's see, Wave Watch, Kubota Tractor is one of our sponsors now. And I'll tell you, Kubota just really blew me away. I got to know their chief marketing executive is Lucas Mack. Awesome dude. Dude is an amazing human and just genuinely a good person. Talking to him, you know, he's a very Christian man. And when he hit me with their marketing pitch of where Kubota is going with their tractors, they are targeting the homesteader because their equipment is smaller, and they are shooting to push into the regenerative agriculture and the small farms. And their whole, the way they put this together and the way listening to Lucas speak about it, man, I was blown away. You know, I met him over at the Homesteaders of America event, and I walked by him, and we were looking to make connections, you know, work for the Sovereign Health Summit. And I walked by and I was like, man, what does Kubota tractor got to do with, you know, sovereignty and the Sovereign Health Summit? Man, something stopped me dead in my tracks, and it was like, you need to talk to this guy. So I walked over, and we just instantly, it's like you and me, Jeff, we just started jamming, talking, and everything come together from that. So check out Kubota. They will be there as well. They're going to have tractors on site. I think he's going to try to run some discounts and stuff like that. Nice. I mean, who doesn't need a tractor? Right?
Now you said just like you and me. So did you go, you know, I've got a barn full of tractors that really aren't working for me. And
oh, I beat him up. I busted him. I busted him hard on a lot of things because I was like, nah, don't be. I even told him myself, you know, what does Kubota have to do with sovereignty? I was like, let's be honest. This is Japan. Like, they're not as bad as China, but still foreign, owning half the United States. And he was like, no, here, let me, you know, and he broke out the whole thing that he's been working on for the marketing. And I got to say, I was happy and sad at the same time, because John Deere was such a depressing thing for these past few years that I've dealt with them. Being the American iconic tractor and the service and the quality of the product, now it is complete garbage. I hate to say it. Hopefully, you know, I don't get sued. Sorry there, John Deere. You guys have dropped the ball, and it is sad when Japan comes out swinging. I've got a Bobcat 759. That's got a 59 horse Kubota motor in it. This thing has been beat every which way but loose, and it still fires up and runs. And I've been beating this thing unmercifully for years. And the John Deere's can't keep them running. Service is garbage. Parts are garbage. It's just, you know, how did we get to this point in this country? Once again, it's chasing that dollar, like you said, Jeff.
Well, think about, you know, about the Coca-Cola dilemma, don't you? So Coca-Cola, on their website now, you can custom design your Coke cans with a message. So you can put Allah is king and Allah is good, or Muhammad. You cannot do Jesus is good.
I did hear about this.
Yeah.
I did hear about this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
you can put Jesus is evil on that can, but you can't put Jesus is good. And I think Pepsi just opened up theirs that allows you to do all of it. You know,
Pepsi did, you know, good for them. I mean, there's a lot of marketing that's involved in that, I'm sure, you know, but at the same time, good on you, Pepsi, for having the guts to come out and actually just do it. So, nah, man, it's a crazy world, but, man, we've blown through this hour. I got to ask, you know, where would you like to see Micronic Silver in the next 5 years? I mean, let's end it like that, you know, because you guys, like you said, are still a small company, but I mean, you have been growing leaps and bounds, and your product line is just insane. I mean, you guys are covering all the bases. We're talking about oral health. We're talking about, you know, purification. And by the way, guys, we ain't going to talk a bunch about it, but Jeff and I are currently working on a Mountain Readiness team up with Micronic Silver for a silver survival kit that you can pack around with you. So more to come on that.
I'd like to have your listeners tell us what they would like to see in that survival pack.
Absolutely. You guys throw there. We've got a minute in here. We got a minute or so left of this live. We can run over. It's no big deal.
I've got plenty of time. So
that's it. So you guys out there that's listening, what would you like to see? Yeah, you know, what are the requirements for a kit that you can throw in the leg of your pants, your cargo pocket, you know, that type size, throw in the backpack. What would you want if you're camping, hiking, you're off the beaten path, doing survival stuff, doing training, cross country hiking, things of that nature? You know, what kind of stuff do you want to see capabilities wise? You know, is it bugs? Is it, you know, cuts and bruises and boo-boos? what would you guys like to see out of a kit like that? Because this is what we're currently working on right now with Jeff. But go ahead while people are throwing stuff in here, Jeff, and what's your goal, for Micronic Silver in the next 5 years?
Well, our goal is to help as many people and to educate as many people as possible on the truth. And not my truth, not your truth, the truth. We're really good at telling people what our products do and then what they won't do. So we'd like a lot of people to experience it. We have between an 86 and 89% customer reorder rate of our products. So our products, I think any company would be happy to have one of our products, and we've got like 12 great products that are out there.
Yes.
But I'd like to see more people get on board with it, more people using it for their general health. I'm not a money guy. I don't like dealing with money. To me, money complicates everything. It's a tool that can help us do a lot of things and do a lot more. But the goal is to really help people take control of their health, grow that way. I'd like to see us become a national brand or even a global brand at some point. I don't know if I exactly want to run the company doing that. I'd probably want to hire somebody who's more qualified. But the one thing that a big investor friend of mine, he always said, you make a plan to get in and plan to get out with every business. And he looked at the Micronic Silver and he goes, I don't see you ever need to get out of this, because it's such a versatile product. We have the pet line that we're getting ready to launch. We've got whole house cleaners. We've got a cosmetic makeup line of naturally and healing makeup sets down the road next on it.
Oh, wow. There you go. Now you're getting the target audience right there.
Yep. We've got the New Life soil, the soil revitalizer. That's bacteria, fungus, and cactus enzyme that takes the place of a fertilizer.
Nice.
That's all natural. So that one is, we got the website together. It's newlifesoil.com. It's not ready to launch yet, but you can go in there, you can read about it. So we're getting into more and more, just to me, it's God-given natural things to restore the earth. The New Life soil, it's a 2-part mix. There's bacteria, cactus enzymes, and fungus. And then the second part is the prehistoric minerals from Yellowstone National Park that are 200 million years old, that, the water level has rise 28 feet and they got to get those minerals out of there. So it's actually creating a living soil that the more you use it, the less you're going to need. So we're working on getting that out there. The sweetener that we made that for the tooth spray, the So Great sweetener, that's another one that we just made it its own company that takes the place of sugar.
Wow. Now that's a very cool thing right there. I definitely need to check that out when you guys come out with that. Some of the comments here, we've got Lima G says nasal spray, silver infused dressings, Band-Aids. Very cool stuff right there. Matt King, he said, water additive, muscle rub, sinus spray, bug spray, cut spray, something for sprains. All right, cool. I like that. I'm actually taking little pictures of all this stuff here because these are all great ideas. And eye drops too, perhaps silver, good for cataracts. Do you have an eye drop line yet?
It's funny because that's one of the first things I made. I've never come out with it because I don't like eye drops. I spray the topical spray in my eyes, and we have Dr. Seema Nanda, who is an Eye Institute in Texas, who uses it for that. So I've got 1,000 eyedropper bottles, and we just had a discussion about, I actually had a name for it called sterile eyes.
Right.
And it's like, I've got the bottles. Maybe we should just go ahead and put it out there. And it's amazing. Conjunctivitis is gone in about 6 hours.
Man, and that's something that I had that a few years back, got some metal in my eye and got it infected, and then conjunctivitis, eye swelled shut, hurt, all the teardrop inflamed, and wish I had something like that. Because that would have, especially if you're a metal worker, if you're forging steel, you're always getting contaminants. I don't care if you wear safety glasses or not, it bounces behind them. And, even face shields, I've had stuff pop up and get in my eyes. So that would be a really cool product. But before we roll out of here, tell everybody where they can, guys, scan that QR code, Robert Toombs, to save you 10%. If you want to get anything, you should. More to come on the survival kit, and let everybody else know where they can find you and your platform.
Yeah, micronicsilver.com. And you can see the spelling right above me.
That's it. Micronicsilver.com.
You
And
know,
you are on the social media too. I see
yes.
Facebook, I believe Instagram. Are you on X?
I think we are. I think we're on all the platforms. I don't know if we're on X yet.
I think you were smart and you have somebody else doing your social media. I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, we're looking to get on TikTok with some of our stuff too.
Oh yeah.
You know, using these platforms that we really don't like for our benefit, you know, to get the word out there about the products. You know.
Well, I tell you, beware of TikTok, boy. Those guys will beat you up one side and down the other if you don't word stuff right, man. That platform there ain't no doubt. They heavily censor. So we'll see how that goes. But Jeff, as always, man, it's always a pleasure once we get past all the bugs and the demonic overseers from trying to suppress us. But we'll see if this actually makes it on the live tomorrow. If it actually lets it post up, but I'm going to pray. I think it's going to make it out good. But as always, man, appreciate you and look forward to seeing you there in October.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure we'll probably get on another podcast or two before then, just to, you know, it's really just like two friends chatting when we get on here. The time goes by so fast that I don't think people realize, you know, you say, people say, well, to fill up an hour, how would I do it? We could fill up 6 hours and it'd be like, we just got on this thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for joining us. You were the ones that make this happen. We couldn't do it without you. Our speakers, our guests, our vendors, instructors, all of you guys is what makes the wheels turn when it's talk about doing even lives and in our in-person. So until next time, we'll be back Monday. Jeff, God bless. Thank you, brother. Always appreciate you. And we'll see y'all next time.
Well, God bless you. You be safe.
Absolutely. Stay safe. Stay ready. Later, y'all.